Welcome back to the Ground Signal Academy's focus on reading chain signals. In our last session, we walked step by step through the ground signal chain platform, from launching a new analysis to navigating competitive sets, insights, menu intelligence, sales data, and geographic breakdowns. Now, we shift from exploration to execution. This session is about turning those insights into PowerPoint-ready content, clear, strategic, and built to tell a compelling story. Let's get started. We will begin this session where we finished the last session on the chain analysis overview screen. As you might remember, we walked through each of the tabs in our last session, taking a moment to discuss the signals we uncovered. During that walkthrough, you may have noticed the Save Analysis and Decks buttons located at the top of the screen. Well, it is now time to put them to use. Click on the Decks button located in the top right of the screen. This will open the Create Deck window. First, type the name of the presentation into the deck name window. I'll type Ground Signal 201 example. Next, choose between one of the two template options below. Chain RFP Lite will create 9 pre-configured PowerPoint slides summarizing the findings from the chain analysis. The custom option allows you to build your own slides, but for this session, we're focused on the Chain RFP Lite template, so after making certain you have typed your deck name into the above window, click the Chain RFP Lite template. This will take you back to the chain analysis overview page, but it also opens a new deck builder window on the left of the page. We will use this window to build your pre-formatted presentation. At the top of the deck builders window, you will see the name of the saved report. It clearly identifies both the chain you are analyzing and the trade channels you are comparing them to, in this case elevated seafood restaurants. It also calls out the geography you are using for the comparison. In this case, we selected California. And below that, you will see the buttons for each one of the pre-formatted slides. Let's walk through those slides now. Click inside the cover window. This is simply the cover page for the presentation. Since this will export into an editable PowerPoint slide, you can customize this slide inside PowerPoint, as you can with most of the slides we are viewing today. Next is the Consumer Overview title slide. Same thing here, you can customize this slide inside PowerPoint to fit your design layout. Clicking on Demographics opens the demographics for King's Fish House. The insights on this page are compared to the elevated seafood restaurants in California. So, for example, King's Fish House skews slightly more male with 12% more male consumers posting on social media than in the average elevated seafood restaurant. General Interests highlights the topics their consumers are interacting with online. In this instance, King's Fish House consumer interact with weightlifting and automotive-related social sites than their competitors, which makes sense since they skew a little more male. Alcohol Interests highlights the topics their consumers are engaging with on social media. In this case, they might be following a winery, or craft beer, or bourbon distillery. Now, let's look at the on-premise trends, the social signals, for the King's Fish House consumer. Click into Occasion Trends. This screen shows you the top consumer occasion mentions related to King's Fish House. On the left side of the window, we can see the top volume mentions for King's Fish House. In this instance, birthday makes up 52% of the occasions mentioned within King's Fish House. This is 73% higher than elevated seafood restaurants. The same holds true for date night. Date night makes up 12% of the occasions mentions within King's Fish House. This is 90% higher than elevated seafood restaurants. On the right side of the window, we can see the top growing mentions for King's Fish House. In this instance, brunch mentions are growing by 133% over the last few years. Next up is cocktail mentions. This view also compares the top mentioned cocktails versus elevated seafood dining and the fastest growing cocktail mentions. In this case, you can see that old-fashioned makes up 36% of the cocktail mentions within King's Fish House. This is 3,000% higher than elevated seafood restaurants. And they are one of the fastest growing mentions with a 162% increase over the last few years. The flavor category is the last of our social insights, but in the case of King's Fish House, we are not seeing much in the way of specific flavor mentions, showing that there is a ton of opportunity to help King's Fish House find their flavor identity. Now, let's look at the on-premise trends, the social signals, for the elevated seafood dining consumer. Before we move into the data, take a quick look at the bottom of the screen, and you will notice that for these slides, We are comparing elevated seafood restaurants to the California market, not directly to King's Fish House. This gives you a better view of the overall market. Once again, birthday is the #1 mentioned occasion. In this case, birthday makes up 30% of the occasion's mentions within elevated seafood restaurants. This is 65% higher than the California market. We can also see that date night mentions at elevated seafood restaurants have grown by 7%. Next up is cocktail trends, followed by flavor trends. Flavor trends really start to appear when looking at multiple chains across multiple markets. As you can see, espresso is the #1 mentioned flavor, while lychee has grown by 520% over the past few years. This is often where you find your leading-edge flavor trends. Diving deeper into the deck builder is the menu analysis section. You might have noticed the lavender Add Slides button just below the dark purple sections. These buttons allow you to create custom slides to support existing content. We will dive deeper into creating custom slides in a later episode, so for now, let's click on the elevated dining menu analysis. Note, this information consists of over 1.6 million cocktails compiled from over 100,000 cocktail menus across the country. Remember that in this instance, we are comparing actual cocktail menus from elevated seafood dining concepts across California. Just like the previous slides, this slide shows top volume versus the California trend and top growth versus last year. Looking at the data, we can see that martini cocktail placements represent 7.2% of the total cocktail menu listings in elevated seafood restaurants. This is 80% higher than the California market. It's also worth noting that gin cocktail menu placements have grown by over 87% over the past year. Clicking on the flavor trends on menu, again, these are actual cocktail menu mentions, not social mentions, shows a 28% increase in orange flavor mentions, and peach as a flavor has grown by 48%. Clicking on categories shows vodka and rum are mentioned 20% more frequently, while whiskey mentions have declined on elevated seafood restaurant menus over the past year. Now, let's investigate the sales data and see what we find. Interesting, from a sales perspective, whiskey sales at King's Fish House drive 65% more volume than the average elevated seafood restaurant, while cognac sales have grown by 12%. The subcategory allows you to dive a little deeper into the sales data, so you can see what specific subcategories are growing. Examples of subcategories include American whiskey, Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskey, and Canadian whiskey. Now that we have clicked through all the slides in our chain analysis, we simply click the Download as PowerPoint template button at the bottom of the page. Now, while that PowerPoint template is downloading, take a minute to think about your next national account meeting. How could our platform not only help you prepare for it, but actually build the presentation with you? Next week, we're diving into how to fine-tune your presentations using the slide builder so you can walk into that meeting polished, precise, and fully prepared. If you found this helpful and want more practical tips and tools to make your next presentation shine, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next week.